Hi. In this week, we've been talking, in fact, the last several weeks, we've been talking about this idea of capital budgeting, which is this concept as in business, you probably are going to have to lay out a large sum of money up front. Now, this large sum of money is what we call money out, maybe an investment. And then the idea is you put that investment into place because at the end of the period, or across several periods, I should say, you end up with a return from that investment. That return is called money in. So there are several ways we've looked at it. So in this week, I wanted to provide you kind of a set of notes that reviews those concepts. And then I want to add a final way that time value of money, or I should say capital budgeting, is looked at. And this is called simple rate of return. So take a look at these notes as it reviews this idea of capital budgeting and adds one more, the final one, which is called simple rate of return. Let's take a look. All right, so what we're talking about in this week is, again, capital budgeting. And to review, what is that? Well, this is the allocation of money. We usually talk about this as money out. Now, you could borrow the money so that you have less outflow of money in the beginning. But either way, you're going to be putting money out there, and then you're hopefully deciding whether it's worth the return. And that's going to be money in. So this idea of capital budgeting can be used and looked at lots of ways. And we've actually gone over several. So I want to review those. So basically, we have some tools. And the first tool that we look at is this basic concept of time value of money. And we've used it in several ways. We talked about present value, future value. We've talked about finding out what rate you're earning. And so we kind of did that in the very beginning. Loans are also a capital budgeting decision, and time value of money helps. So really, it's just this way of figuring out what kind of return over time we could expect and how long it might take. Now, we got that tool even more specific with some new tools called net present value and internal rate of return, which you have several homeworks on. We even kind of started to simplify this, and we looked at just how long does it take to get the money back, called payback period. Well, now I have a new one for you. This new tool is going to be called simple rate of return. And it's really kind of by definition something that people use. It's SRR by definition. And so it gets used a lot. And so I want to make sure that I go over what it is and how it can be used. So the formula, first of all, is the way to start. Simple rate of return is equal to the average annual return. So you've got money that comes in across several years. What is the average? Divide it by the initial cost. That's at time value 0. And you get what's called simple rate of return. Now, probably the easiest way to explain it is to actually show you also an example. So let's say today, time value 0, we have to put out $100,000 as an investment. And then we expect to get money back over a period of time. So 1 year, you're going to get so much back. 2, so much. 3, so much. All the way down to N, however many years you've got to go out. And if we did this, and the average across all the years, some are going to be way higher than others, some could even be negative, but let's say the average is $20,000. So simple rate of return is an easy formula, and that would just be $20,000 is the average divided by our initial investment, which is $100,000, which of course can equal 0.20 or 20%. And so simple rate of return is an easy way to calculate what an investment might do for us in our business. And it gets used quite a bit. So before we get too far with it, we ought to talk about kind of what are the pluses, like what are the benefits. The results of these are, number one is it's simple. It's easy to do. The idea of being able to calculate it doesn't really involve a whole lot of effort. You pretty much look at whatever you expect the returns to be, come up with an average, divide it by that initial cost. The thing about it is it's quick, and so it gets used quite a bit. Now, there are some negatives, and the negatives are the ones that I probably want to focus on more. Those negatives are probably broken out in two ways. The first way is that this does not account for this concept that we've been focusing on, and that is risk. So there's really no rate of opportunity cost considered here. So you've got several different ways you might look at risk, and you're not accounting for these in here at all. Second part is it doesn't account for time. It's just simply looking at an average. That average could appear to be really good, but it takes you a long time to get that back. And so 5 years, 10 years, it's really hard to compare because simple rate of return ignores the time. It just gives you the average. So simple rate of return is a time value money, or I should say not time value, capital budgeting tool that gets talked about. Benefits are it's simple, quick, so a lot of people use it. And it's still not a bad tool. However, it does not account for risk.